Well, you pointed out in one of your recent publications that the federal unemployment benefit, which was supposed to last for 6 months and then were extended to a year and now are going to be extended to another 6 months, may very well become a permanent form of welfare. In other words, unemployment, you're unemployed, you're always going to get a federal check. They wouldn't dare discontinue them because there are no jobs. They've intentionally transferred our jobs to other countries. And when you have, millions, literally millions of people with no income and no possibility of getting income, and the American people realize that the globalist policies of transferring America's industries to other countries is responsible, why, they'd be rioting in the streets. They couldn't allow that to happen. So they're going to have to provide the bread for the people so they can enjoy the circuses.
That's exactly right. And I guess we're going to go the way of Rome. I don't know exactly yet who the barbarians are going to be, but that's where we're headed. And it's an insolvable problem. And my guess is that they will, somewhere along the way, pull the plug, and it'll be over. There'll be chaos in all the countries of the world to some extent. Some countries far less than others. And one of the reasons why is that in many, many countries, they don't have a method of buying homes on time. They pay cash for them. And so they don't have that onerous overhang and of debt for mortgages like America and to some extent Canada and Australia and New Zealand and England and Spain and Ireland. They've had these overreaching, and it really is overreaching when you can give somebody 110 or 20% of the value of your home in order to buy it, when the people who are doing the borrowing don't have adequate income to pay for the payments on the property. You've got a problem. And they're doing it all over again. This time it's not the bankers. This time it's the government.
And you're talking about the FHA now is making all sorts of subprime loans with essentially nothing down. In other words, people get a bonus from the government for buying a home, so that's their down payment. And certainly they're giving them loans. These people can't afford to have a house, and yet we're letting them buy it. We're creating the same problem all over again, a whole epidemic of subprime loans that are doomed to collapse. It's only a matter not of if, but when it's going to happen. And, of course, nobody's been held responsible for the last subprime debacle, and when it happens again, I fear it's going to really have terrible consequences. But even right now, 300,000 Americans are losing their homes every month. And President Obama keeps saying, we got a great new program, so keep Americans in their homes. Boy, I'd hate to see a bad program. If 300,000 people are losing their homes with the good programs out there, what would happen if there were bad programs?
Or no programs.
Well, I don't think we have any programs. I think it's all, smoke and mirrors. We get people calling it all the time, saying they're trying to stay in their homes, but the banks just aren't cooperating with the Obama programs. And apparently Wells Fargo has written off some of their loans, but most of the banks aren't going to do it. Our telephone number is 1-888-24-LIBERTY or 464-8295 if you're out there and you have a question. Basically, between 20 and 30% of the people who have mortgages on their homes are underwater today. In other words, they owe more on their homes than their homes are worth. And, of course, people say, well, but, the value of the home is going to rise. Well, it's going to fall when the next shoe drops, and heaven help us then. Go right ahead, Bob.
Well, it's the same people who wouldn't pay any attention when the international forecaster pointed out that in June of 2005, and from then onward, the end of the real estate bubble would begin. And we told people who were in homes that were then at high prices compared to today to sell, go and rent. If you have multiple dwellings, sell them all. If you have commercial real estate, sell it all and go into gold and silver related assets. And many, many, many people listened and did that. And of course, they're in a very good position today where they might not have been otherwise. And as we look back, those who stayed because they didn't believe us saw their $1 million home in California go down to $600,000, $550,000. And you know, this happened before, but people don't remember. I wrote an article in October of 1988, and I said the market in real estate was topping and to get out. And I sold my house in Malibu for $1 million. And in 1992, which is 4 years later, I could have bought it back for $450,000. And so there's nothing unusual about this. We've had it happen before. Only in years past, California's gotten hit harder because of the leverage in housing there. And this time it's going to be even worse. And so there has been some beacons of light out there to tell people what to do. And many of them have, but most of them haven't. And not only are residential values on homes going to get down more, but once we hit the bottom, how long is it going to take for any upside to occur? 5, 10, 20 years, who knows?
And of course, then we've got a big fallout coming in the commercial properties. I mean, that's the next bubble that's going to burst. And of course, so many of the people who bought commercial property, and they owe a lot of money on it, the value of that property is dropping, and they can't hang on to it indefinitely. Even some of the big investors in Las Vegas are having problems at losing their wonderful casinos there. We're going to be back in just a moment. We'll take Jack's question, and our guest, Bob Chapman from the International Forecaster. Well, this is Dr. Stan. Jack, do you have a question for our guest?
Yes, I do. Stan and Robert, my question is pursuant to the Uniform Commercial Code and the United States Code, which govern all these monetary commercial transactions. I was wondering if Bob, in talking with as many people as he does and has he ever heard from any of them the fact that the promissory note that is actually created as currency by the presumed valid contractor, borrower, their signature, according to the Uniform Commercial Code, makes it that actual promissory note currency, which funds the loan, because the banks, according to the United States Code, Title 12, Section 1831 NA, prohibits banks loaning currency from their assets and those of their client depositors.
All right, let's get Bob's response to that. Bob, what's your thoughts on that?
Well, I haven't gone into it as deeply as the gentleman has, but it seems to have validity. And I just don't know the details. And I know that there's a book that recently came out about it, but I haven't read it.
Okay, thanks very much, Jack. And Bob, you've got about a minute and a half to wrap up the program.
Well, I first of all thank you for calling in and bringing things to our attention. I think what people for the coming year should be thinking about is how to preserve what wealth they might have, and they do that by being in gold and silver-related assets. I think that they should be thinking, if they don't have wealth, extra food and a water filter and a method of defending their families, because we don't know where this whole thing's going to go or how quickly. And I just think for safety of the family, that is the most important thing to do. And that's something that most families can handle. I mean, even if it means putting away some extra canned goods rather than freeze-dried and dehydrated foods.